Hello, this is Dr. Grafton, and this video is on assignment 4.5, multiple regression analysis case study. We are going to take regression a little bit further now. We've been talking about comparing two variables, a dependent variable and one independent variable. In multiple regression, we're going to be looking at two or more independent variables as how they might relate to a dependent variable. And so um, it's not that more complex. It just seems that way when we talk about multiple stuff. But we're wanting to be able to look and see how these relationships are between these variables. So we're going to apply the Excel multiple linear regression function to observe this relationship. We're going to be using the data analysis tool pack, and I'll show you step by step on how we can do this. Uh, on this case study, some of the background on it, it's a consumer research company. It's a fictional company. They're an independent agency that conducts research on customer attitudes and behavior for a variety of firms. In one study, a client asked for an investigation of consumer characteristics that can used to predict the amount of charged by credit card users. And the data collected was annual income, household size, and then the annual credit card charges for a sample of these 50 consumers. Okay. And we'll look at the spreadsheet here in a second. I'm going to kind of go through the directions, but it would probably be more helpful if I uh, went through the directions as I showed you how to do those. But basically, overall, what we're going to look at initially is the descriptive statistics, mean, median, standard deviation, minimum, maximum, and that's the descriptive statistic, the analysis tool pack. We're going to do a couple scatter diagrams. One's going to be household size as an independent variable, and then the amount charged is a dependent variable. Then annual income is the independent variable, and amount charged as the dependent variable. Okay, so you can see in both cases the dependent variable stays the same. We're just changing the independent variable. Uh, Again, as we go through, there's questions that you need to answer, and what I've done in my spreadsheet, it's not in the one that you've downloaded, but I've kind of transferred those questions to the spreadsheet so I can have them there as I do the regression analysis and the descriptive statistics. So we're going to initially start do two regression models that are going to be the single one, which will have the independent variable using household size and the dependent variable as amount charged. And then we'll do another one as household annual income with their dependent value variables amount charged. And again, we're going to look at that from a 95% confidence level. And as we go through, I'll give you the instructions on how we'll do that. Okay. Once we've come up with those two, then there's some questions that you'll need to answer about those, and we'll be using the multiple R value as a determinant. Then we're going to do a multiple regression with both annual income and household size as independent variable. And again, the dependent variable will be amount charged. And then we'll be able to, from that multiple regression, come up with a prediction for a three-person household with an annual income of $40,000. And this gives you the equation there that you'll be able to come up with that with. It's just that you're going to have to be able to derive from the regression analysis what the income coefficient is and what the household size coefficient is. And then we'll look at the coefficient of determination for the multiple regression model. In this case, we're going to use the R squared as our coefficient of determination. And then the final question is what other variables might somebody be interested in that you would want to study besides household size and household income? Okay, so let me go ahead and bring up the spreadsheet. The one that you download will have the data as it's shown on the left. Now, what I've done is, as I've showed you on my other regressions, is I've gone ahead and put in the uh, X's. So I know that those are the independent variables and the Y. That way I know those are the dependent variable. I went ahead and wrote the questions out. So there's 6 questions that you'll need to answer. This is a format you could use to answer your questions. It's just go ahead and write it on the Excel spreadsheet. I put it in this order just because you'll see here in a minute, I'll be building the solution on this particular page. Okay, so the first things that they're wanting us to do is descriptive statistics for each one of the three categories here: income, household size, and amount charged. So we're just going to I'll start with income and just go from left to right. So our control shift down arrow, that selects it all. Uh, do our data analysis, descriptive statistics. And this has already had some in there from previously doing that. Uh, I got a little ahead of myself on the, okay, here we go. Make sure now we do the control shift down. That gives us everything in that first column. All right. The output range, I'm going to go ahead and put it on this uh, page here. So I'm just going to click here. So it's an E1. And then you need to make sure you check summary statistics. Mine was already checked from earlier. Okay, so now this is our first set of descriptive statistics. Looks like I expanded it further than I needed to. There we go. Just there we go. Okay. So the next one then will be our household size. Again, go up to Data tab, Data Analysis, Descriptive Statistics. Okay. Clear what you'd had in there before. Go to column B, Control Shift down arrow, and then go over here to the output range. In this case, I just want it to be an H1, so I'm just going to replace the E with an H. Again, summary statistics and labels in the first row. Okay. Now, instead of double clicking that, I'm just going to spread it. There we go. Okay. The third one then we want descriptive statistics from is amount charged. Again, descriptive statistics. Let's clear out what was there. Go to the C column, shift down arrow. I'm going to want this to go in the K1. Okay. Okay. So now we've got the descriptive statistics. We know there's 50. So it all comes up to 50. We see where the minimums and the maximums are. Any other types of findings that you think might be of interest here. Okay. Uh, we'll see some things that when we do our scatter plots here, that the descriptive statistics will help us so we can confirm we're doing the right information. Okay, so the next thing it's wanting us to do is 2 scatter diagrams. One of them is household size as the independent variable and amount charged as the dependent variable. So we'll go back up here to data. No, I'm sorry. This is scatter plot. So household size, amount charged, control shift down arrow. So that selected those 2 columns. Go to insert, scatter chart, and there we go. Okay. You can bring this down. Now you can see how I'm building the solution file. Go ahead and click on the trend line. Let's go ahead and display our information for that. And so we've got the first one. So in looking at amount charged, and this was income, so I'm going to go ahead and put on here amount charged versus household size. That tells me what the chart is about, because particularly since we're dealing with 2 independent variables, it can get real confusing real fast. Okay. One of the things, if you hadn't experimented with this before, is the chart design up here comes up when you're in the chart, and you can do uh, some changes to it, quick layouts, I did this here and I put that over here. So it builds up, gives you titles to it. So you can put on here household size. And you can go over here and title this one uh, amount charged. Got to click inside there. There we go. That's just some chartsmanship. Okay. So it's showing all that on there for you. All right. So then the next one it's wanting us to do is the annual income as the independent variable and the amount charged as the dependent. So here we got X's are our independent, Y is our dependent. So here's our first one over here, control shift down arrow. Now you're saying, okay, how do I get the next one? Okay, well, let's push the control button down, click on that, control shift down arrow. Now you've selected two columns that are not necessarily next to each other. Okay, so go up to insert, charts, scatter diagram. And again, so it brings that here. This is our amount charged versus household income. So we can change the titles. We can go up to the quick layout, pick one that we like. Okay, so this looks similar to the other one we did. Go ahead and put the titles in there. And I'm just doing this to show you how to do it since we've been, some of you figured this out, some of you haven't, but it's kind of a neat thing that Excel is able to do this for us. So this was the household. Oops. And, this is amount charged. Okay, now so we can see household income. If we look up here, uh, income goes from minimum of 21 to 67. So you can see here, starts about 21 to 67. These are in thousands. That's what the legend up here tells you. We can look at the household size. It goes from 1 to 7. So you can see here 1 to about 7. So you can see that we've got the right amount of data in there, and it's showing that. It's showing us the line slope formulas for each one of these, and it's showing us the R squared for those. Okay. So then now from this, you can discuss your findings on these uh, two charts and the three descriptive statistics. Okay. So now we're wanting to look at a simple regression equation. We want to first use the annual income as the independent variable, then using household size as the independent variable. So we're going to do two of them. So we'll go up to data, data analysis, and we just go down to regression. We used this before in an earlier assignment. Okay, so these are already had some information in them from trying that. Uh, I'm going to put in there. The first one is wanting us to do annual income. This is going to create a new sheet for us. That's why I'm doing that. And so our uh, Y value is amount charged. So control shift down arrow. All right. And then our independent variable then is going to be annual income. So let's do that. We want to make sure it says labels. We want the confidence level to be at 95%. We're going to put it in a new worksheet, which will come up in a tab below. Okay. So here's our, uh, so we see the question is going to say use a uh, multiple R as our determinant for this one. So you see that there. You see our intercept and our income coefficient. If you go back here, you can see uh, the same numbers here, income coefficient and intercept. There's intercept income coefficient. Okay. You can see the R squared. Okay, there's R squared. All right. So we can see that from what we've done the charts before. Okay, so the next one we want to do is uh, household size is our independent variable. So again, go back up data analysis toolpack, regression. So the dependent variable doesn't change. So we'll leave that alone. Our independent variable is going to change. That's going to be in column B. Control Shift down arrow. I'm going to call this one household size. Okay. And it creates a new tab down below. It gives us, so here we see our multiple R squared, our coefficients, the intercept, and then the size, household size coefficient. And again, we can go back and compare those here to the same ones that we saw when we did our scatter plot. Okay. All right. So then the third one it's wanting us to do is a multiple regression. So again, back to data analysis, regression. The dependent variable still hasn't changed, but what we're going to do here now is now we're going to have two independent variables. So we just highlight both, Control Shift down. So now we see that our range is from A1 to B51. So both those columns are there. And I'm going to call this one multiple regression. Did I spell it right? M-U. Yeah. All right. M-U-L-T-I-P-L-E. All right. Okay. So now this is going to create us a tab down here called multiple regression. Okay. So this then is going to tell us the multiple regression equation. So here's our intercept. Here's our income. Here's our household size. The formula is in the question where it says if you're looking for a three-person household with an annual income of 40,000, you'll have the intercept, uh, your income coefficient times 40 plus the household size coefficient times 3, and then add all three of those up together, and that will give you the answer to that one. Okay. The other question it asked was about the using the coefficient of determination for the multiple regression. In this particular case, we're going to be using R squared. And so this is similar to what we had before, where we're going to say a certain percent of the variability is determined by this. And you can round that up to 2 decimal places. So that would be 83. And you can say 83%. Okay. So you can see the different questions here. Uh, this was talking about the R squared one on the multiple regression. This one now, the final one is saying, all right, what other things would you want to study? Okay. All right. So that pretty much covers the multiple regression. Uh, I've done the video so you can stop it, go back, look, redo some things. Some of the answers are already there, but you can see how to be able to do those. All right. I hope this video helps and good luck with your assignment.